Let me tell you something. There are some really weird laws that are still on the books, and some of these bizarre legal rules will make you question how they ever got passed in the first place. Picture this. You're walking down the street in Alabama with an ice cream cone in your back pocket. No big deal, right? Guess what? You just broke the law. That's right. In Alabama, it's illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. But here's the thing. This isn't some random joke law that lawmakers made up for fun. Back in the day, horse thieves used this exact trick. They'd put ice cream or sweet treats in their back pockets to lure horses away from their owners. The horses would follow the sweet smell and boom, stolen horse. So Alabama made it illegal to carry ice cream cones in your back pocket to stop horse theft. Makes sense when you know the backstory. But Alabama isn't alone in having weird laws that actually serve a purpose. Let's talk about some more bizarre legal rules that are still on the books today. In Vermont, it's illegal for women to wear false teeth without written permission from their husbands. This law dates back to the 1800s when false teeth were expensive and considered a luxury item. Husbands controlled the family finances, so they had to approve any major purchases. The law was meant to prevent wives from spending money without permission. Obviously outdated now, but it made sense in that time period. Here's another one that'll blow your mind. In Kentucky, it's illegal to carry ice cream cones in your back pocket on Sundays. Notice the pattern here? Multiple states have ice cream cone laws because of that whole horse theft situation, but Kentucky took it a step further and made it specifically about Sundays. Back then, Sunday was the day people went to church and left their horses unattended. Horse thieves knew this and targeted Sundays for their crimes. Moving on to something completely different. In Connecticut, it's illegal for a barber to hum while cutting hair. This law came about because of noise complaints in the early 1900s. Barbershops were social gathering places where men would discuss business and politics. If the barber was humming or making noise, it disrupted these important conversations. So they made it illegal. But wait, there's more. In Georgia, it's illegal to eat fried chicken with anything other than your hands. Now, this law was passed in the 1960s in Gainesville, Georgia, which calls itself the chicken capital of the world. They wanted to preserve the traditional way of eating fried chicken and felt that using utensils was disrespectful to their local culture. A tourist was actually arrested for eating fried chicken with a fork in 2009, though it was later revealed to be a publicity stunt. Let's head over to California, where it's illegal to whistle for a lost canary before 7 a.m. This law exists because canaries were popular pets in the early 1900s, and people would whistle to call them back if they escaped. But the whistling at dawn was disturbing neighbors who were trying to sleep, so they set specific hours for canary whistling. In Florida, it's illegal to sing in a public place while wearing a swimsuit. This law was created to maintain public decency at beaches and pools. Back in the day, singing loudly in a swimsuit was considered inappropriate and potentially disturbing to families. The law was meant to keep beach areas family-friendly. Now here's one that really shows how times have changed. In Pennsylvania, it's illegal to sleep on top of a refrigerator outdoors. This law came about during the Great Depression, when people were so poor they had to sleep outside. Some folks would sleep on top of their refrigerators because it was off the ground and away from bugs and animals. But it was dangerous because refrigerators could tip over, so they made it illegal for safety reasons. In Texas, it's illegal to milk another person's cow. And this might seem obvious now, but back in the day, property lines weren't always clear, and people would sometimes milk cows that didn't belong to them. This law clarified that you can't just walk up to any cow and start milking. You need permission from the owner. Here's a weird one from New York. It's illegal to throw a ball at someone's head for fun. This law was created because people were getting seriously injured from ball-throwing games that got out of hand. What started as harmless fun was causing concussions and other head injuries. So they made it illegal to throw balls at people's heads intentionally. In Ohio, it's illegal to get a fish drunk. This law exists because some people were putting alcohol in fish tanks as a prank or to see what would happen, but alcohol is toxic to fish and kills them. So they made it illegal to give alcohol to fish to prevent animal cruelty. Let's talk about a really specific one. In Alaska, it's illegal to wake a sleeping bear to take a photograph. This law exists because tourists were literally waking up hibernating bears to get better photos. Bears are extremely dangerous when startled, and several people were attacked. So Alaska made it explicitly illegal to disturb sleeping bears. In Louisiana, it's illegal to rob a bank and then shoot at the bank teller with a water pistol. This law was created because someone actually did this. They robbed a bank with a real gun, but then shot water at the teller as they were leaving. The water pistol part was considered an additional assault, so they made it a separate crime. Here's one that shows how society has evolved. In Arizona, it's illegal for donkeys to sleep in bathtubs. This law came about because a dam burst in 1924, and a donkey that was sleeping in a bathtub got swept away by the flood. It became a huge rescue operation to save the donkey. To prevent similar situations, they made it illegal for donkeys to sleep in bathtubs. In Michigan, it's illegal to tie an alligator to a fire hydrant. This law exists because someone actually did this back in the 1800s. They brought an alligator up from Florida and tied it to a fire hydrant as a publicity stunt for their traveling show. But the alligator blocked access to the fire hydrant during an emergency, so they made it illegal. Now, here's something that affects modern life. In Nevada, it's illegal to drive a camel on the highway. This law dates back to the 1800s when the U.S. Army used camels for transportation in the desert. After the program ended, some camels were released into the wild, and people would sometimes try to ride them on roads. But camels and cars don't mix well, so they banned camels from highways. In North Carolina, it's illegal to use elephants to plow cotton fields. This law was created because someone imported elephants from Asia to use as farm animals. But elephants are too heavy and would compact the soil too much, making it impossible to grow crops. Plus, they were expensive to feed and maintain, so they banned using elephants for farming. Here's a seasonal one. In South Dakota, it's illegal to lie down and fall asleep in a cheese factory. And this law came about because workers were falling asleep on the job during overnight shifts. But sleeping in a cheese factory is unsanitary and could contaminate the cheese. So they made it illegal to sleep in cheese production areas. In Washington state, it's illegal to pretend your parents are rich. This law was created to prevent fraud. Some people were lying about their family's wealth to get credit or loans they couldn't afford. Banks and businesses were losing money because people would default on loans after pretending to come from wealthy families. Let's end with one that's really specific. In West Virginia, it's illegal to snooze on a train. This law exists because people were riding trains without paying by pretending to be asleep when the conductor came around to check tickets. The law made it clear that sleeping on a train without a ticket was illegal. All of these laws might sound ridiculous today, but they all have logical explanations rooted in the problems people faced when they were written. Society changes, technology advances, and what seemed necessary back then might seem silly now. But these laws remind us that every rule has a story behind it. And here's the kicker. Most of these laws are still technically on the books. They're just not enforced because the problems they were meant to solve don't exist anymore. But if you really wanted to, you could probably get arrested for carrying ice cream in your back pocket in Alabama. Thanks for joining us today at Due Process Daily. Throw us a like and consider subscribing to the channel to help us grow.